Today we dive into the world of kings and queens of England and Britain. Once upon a time, there was a land full of castles, knights, and dragons. This land was ruled by many kings and queens who were brave, wise, and sometimes a little bit wicked. Our story begins with a king named William the Conqueror. He was a strong warrior from Normandy, a place across the sea. In 1066, he sailed to England with his army and won a big battle called the Battle of Hastings. After that, he became the King of England. William was a fair king and made many new laws to help them. Many years later, there was a famous king named Richard the Lionheart. Richard loved adventures and battles. He went on a great journey called the Crusades to fight for his religion. Richard was brave and strong, and his people loved him, but he was away from England a lot. So his brother John tried to take over. King John was not a very nice king. He made the people pay high taxes and took away their rights. The people got very angry and made John sign a paper called the Magna Carta. This paper said that the king must respect the rights of the people and follow the law. Then came a great queen named Elizabeth I. She ruled for a long time and brought peace and prosperity to her kingdom. Elizabeth was clever and loved to learn. She enjoyed plays and music, and during her reign, a famous writer named William Shakespeare wrote many of his plays. Elizabeth never married and was known as the Virgin Queen. A few years after Elizabeth, there was a king named James I. He was from Scotland and united England and Scotland under one crown. James was very interested in books and learning. He even made a new translation of the Bible called the King James Bible, which is still read today. In the 1600s, there was a king named Charles I. He wanted to rule without parliament, but the people said no. This led to a big conflict called the English Civil War. The people, led by Oliver Cromwell, fought against the king's army. In the end, to be their king. Charles I was called the Merry Monarch because he loved parties and fun. He worked hard to make the people happy and restore the king. Then came a time when there were two sisters, Mary I and Anne. Mary ruled with her husband, William I. They were good rulers and respected the people's rights. After Mary, her sister Anne became queen. Anne had many children, but sadly, none of them survived to become king or queen. When Anne died, the crown passed to a distant relative from Germany. This relative was George I. He did not speak much English and let his ministers help him rule. His son George II was also not very involved in ruling. But George II, his grandson, was very different. George I loved his country and worked hard to be a good king. However, during his reign, the American colonies declared independence and Britain lost them. After George I, there was a long line of Georges until Queen Victoria came to the throne. Victoria was a very important queen. She ruled for 63 years and her time as queen was called the Victorian era. During this time, Britain became very powerful and had many colonies around the world. Victoria was loved by her people and became known as the grandmother of Europe because many of her children married into other royal families. In the 20th century, there were two world wars. During World War X, George V was the ruler. He was a brave and kind king who inspired his people to stay strong during the difficult times. His daughter, Elizabeth I, became queen. Queen Elizabeth I was a beloved queen who ruled for many years. She saw many changes in the world and worked hard to serve her people. Under her reign, Britain became a modern and diverse country. And so the story of the kings and queens of England and Britain is a tale of bravery, wisdom, and the power of the people. They built a kingdom that has lasted for centuries and continues to thrive today.